I was listening when I was listening to the sermon, what really hit me, because I also come from India and Madhu spoke about Hinduism, that it's a natural practice for us to like go to temple every day, or probably like have a proper ritual where, you are having a designated time with God. But how it personally resonates with me is that like I have also, the kind of household that I was brought up in. My parents were like extremely religious, going to every temple they would come across and everything. But that never actually helped me build a relationship with God. But it was like more of like, a very restrictive relationship with God. And that is when, like, I could never experience God, like a personal God for me, where I could see God as ex- being extended to other relationships. And it was just always God, somebody on the pedestal watching us from heaven. But coming into unionism has definitely helped me have a personal relationship with God, go deeper in my relationship with God, and like um explore my relationship with God, and how that feels more grounded, that feels, like how you can explore, like it's not about who you are surrounded with, but it's more about who it's about receiving God through the people around you, right? It could be through anybody. It could be through your boss. It could be through your parents. It could be through your siblings. It could be through anyone. And when that comes, and that perspective comes, that receiving that relationship with God through the physical relationships, that changes a lot, because that is when, like for me personally, I feel it's more about transcending from the societal ways of looking at personal relationships, where like, oh, you hurt me, but now you know that you're able to take more responsibility of your own feelings, that yeah, I'm not some powerless creation of God, but I am powerful and I can change my reality. That, of course, that we learn through the work here, through mirror exercise.
Wow, I love that. You shared so much. Um, um, yeah, I think it's so powerful. Yeah, like having this personal relationship with God is something that I didn't understand. And I feel like it's like the exploration that you shared. It's like a continuation and a process. And, I think initially, like what Madhu was talking about, is like the signs and synchronicities that kind of like lead you. Um, and I always feel like I see more signs and more numbers and more things as I'm like, I don't know, needing reassurance. Like sometimes we just have times in our life where we need more reassurance. But then as my relationship develops and deepens, I notice that I don't necessarily like need those signs and I don't see quite as many, but then I will get these kind of intuitive, um, like I'll feel an emotional intuition that, oh, that's a sign that this is happening. Because there's
Mm.
just so much synchronicity in life that we don't actually have to know necessarily what's happening in perhaps like our twin flames life or whatever. Like you can sometimes we get these intuitive guidances. And the same I think for life purpose. Like I was really confused about that as well. Um, but I think it's also like this invitation, this like heart opening, and I think that's like the awakening piece is that we're learning to awaken to the truth of what God is showing us. And so I think it takes just an incredible amount of compassion because like if you feel like God's abandoning you, then there's places within that you're not loving yourself, you're not honoring yourself. And that can be like kind of a hard pill to kind of swallow and to really take responsibility for, right? And so I love that you shared the responsibility piece because I think like I was always confused by like, okay, ask and you shall receive is like that's in the Bible, right? And people always talk about that in Christian culture. Um, but it's like, but you have to really like open your heart to receive God, to receive your gifts. And so long as we are putting like what you were sharing, like the social things ahead of God, then you know it's really hard to you might even manifest a lot financially, but there's still going to be a lot of emptiness because the true wealth is that the divinity within that Madhu shared so beautifully. And I've never heard that word before. What was that? Um, Not the Dharma, but that inner God, right? That we're part of that divine. So that was, yeah, that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Like, as you spoke about signs and synchronicities, like now we say that we are starting to see the synchronicities, like as we start awakening to the journey. But on the contrary, it's always there, like especially in your twin flame journey. Since your childhood, you are being directed to your twin flame. Like right now, who I see as my twin flame, his name um was also like, so like just a weird example that my aunt used to live at some place, and the name of the location was like is the name of my twin flame as well. So since my childhood, like I've been to college, I've been to school, and if any conversations, I used to say, oh, this is my second home. Like now I say, why I used to say or feel um this place is my second home. So the synchronicity, God will place you near those things that will keep giving you. But the only difference that I feel is that as we start to explore our relationship with God, we start to see that God is not somewhere sitting far away, but living through us in this on this planet. That is when I feel that we are listening. We start listening. So we feel that, yeah, we are we start to see things, and we feel now my intuition is stronger, but it was always there. The only thing is that God never abandoned us, but it was us who was abandoning the essence of God in the world, in us, because it
Mhm.
was more about, like, even when we in Christianity, it's about going to church every Sunday. In Hinduism, it's about going to temples every day, or on a specific day that people assign themselves. So it's like, we have put it in a way that, oh, it's Monday, so I've got to go to temple. It's Sunday, I've got to go to church. So this is my time with God. But what about living a life with your creator, right? And that is the missing puzzle, like how you also beautifully put it through your purpose. Like for me, my journey, because I had a lot of resistance towards twin flame. So like a lot of things in science came to me that I'm a twin flame, but I just kept denying it. So for me, like other things started first in my purpose. Like I started with other healing modalities with, so for me that was needed for me to come into that level of acceptance. So but still, despite doing all of that, the missing puzzle, it was never found. It was there, like through the finances, through the career, through doing the good work and everything. It only fulfilled, not even after, like, in the physical, like your twin flame is right there, but it comes when God fills the place. Like, you
Mm.
understand what I'm saying? If you're like just hell bent on your twin flame in the physical and just right behind your twin flame. Where is he? When will he come? Oh, we spoke about this, that happened, but you're missing God there. That is when the missing feeling is still going to be there. And that starts to, like, fill when you explore your relationship, when you awaken that God within.
Mhm.
And it's not that you go and find God somewhere outside of you and then you bring it and place it back in your heart. It was already there, but you're just opening up to that truth. And that's more about just uncurtaining the veils of illusion, right?
No, I love that. And I love how yeah, I love how you say it's always there. I remember as a young child learning Christianity, and I've gone like back and forth in and out of the church over like my
Mm,
whole life essentially, um but I always questioned, because they would always kind of put like Jesus on a pedestal. And I mean, yes, he was such an incredible, being in person. And, but also, even as a child, I really felt this sense that I'm like Jesus. And I spoke that to, my family, and they were like, no, you're not. And so they sort of like talked me out of it. But I love that I've like kind of come full circle into realizing that there's that life force in me that is a part of that bigger divine God, and that we all have that within us. Um, I didn't quite understand that. I always felt very separate from God. And I think for me, it's about like really still learning how to, um, I guess,
mm,
integrate feeling really good and divine and loving and having this like sacred relationship with myself in the way that God would, I would assume He would want us to have this beautiful relationship with ourselves, because that's having a beautiful relationship with God. I mean, that's what Jeff and Shaleia teach. And um, yeah, I'm still really learning to integrate that. And um, yeah, I feel like sometimes it's challenging because the world and the social structures is like not necessarily set for us to love ourselves, because, it's like everybody wants you to love yourself until you set boundaries and you say, hey, no, that's not okay with me. That doesn't feel loving. And then it's like, whoa, like,
mm,
and so I think it can be challenging, because sometimes when you set boundaries, people won't always want to stay. They won't always respect your boundaries. But that's just not love. Like loving people respect boundaries, um and so yeah, I think the social constructs for me have been the hardest to kind of really break around, like, what is love? What is a relationship with God and with myself? And like, I don't know, it's just mind blowing sometimes.
mm. Yeah, like what I've also felt is that, throughout the journey, that initially it feels when you're learning to place boundary on people, they would get intimidated, sometimes defensive, right? But isn't it more loving for you to let them go if they're not honoring?
Yep.
But, like recently I was just contemplating on that. Like, it's not about cutting your relationships in the name of boundaries, because it's like, when you're learning um, to feel your feelings, that is when you realize that how many things you are doing that are not loving to your own self,
Hmm.
right? That is when a lot of resentment also starts coming up. Oh, this
Yeah.
person has been doing, my mother has been doing this to me. But instead of just cutting away the relationship, what they are doing is, in most cases, that they're also showing you the blocks that are needed to be healed.
Hmm.
So what you have got to put boundary is on that behavior that you do not
Yeah.
want to invite, right? And as you keep going deeper into the healing, these people who are also mirroring will reveal their true nature, right? Are they genuinely loving? Because if they genuinely love you, they will only come closer to you despite you putting the boundaries. So If not, and if that becomes like an abusive relationship, then why would you want to keep them? Like, I know we hung on to the social um, compulsion of it, to put it in the right way, the compulsion that, oh, that is how you're gonna, you're gonna be left out, you'll have nobody, you'll be like all alone all your life. But I feel it's better because I to be honest, like before my spiritual awakening, like started, I was the most social person. Like I would just make friends like this, and I would go to parties and I will come out with 10 new friends. But then having 500 or 5,000 contacts in your phone versus having five people with whom you can be honest, with whom you can be transparent and yourself, I think that's far more loving, and
Mhm.
not loving, but also much more preserving for your own energy, right? So, yeah, we do fear that, yeah, I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna have to let go of so many people. But this is where, you also reveal, or probably it gets revealed to you, that who genuinely loves you and who doesn't,
Yeah,
right?
that's so rich. Yeah, and I feel like too, as I continue to kind of deepen my relationship with myself and really, really bring value to myself, I start to um, just naturally vibrate into relationships and friendships of people who really value themselves, and they um, mirror back to you like like who you are, like how great you are, to like really heal, to really take responsibility and face those challenges that come. And um so that's, yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing for me. Because I know for a long time during my awakening, I had to really, um, I just had so much to heal and so much to work through that I sort of had to like bubble myself a little bit. And especially like during COVID and everything, we're all it's kind of like, sort of made to do that anyway. But, so it's just been fascinating to, like, as I continue to heal and choose love, that my relationships also expand and mirror like all the work that I've done. Um, and, for a while there, when I was healing with the community, it felt like, okay, I've got my spiritual community and then I've got my life here in the US. And like, but now as I've continued to heal and grow, like my relationships around me have really started to bloom and grow. And I feel like I'm like in the right circles and with the right people, and like I feel safe. Like it's very like I have safe friendships now. Um, and so it's like just a huge gift to continue to grow and heal. And because I think that's I think Madhu was talking a little bit about Dharma, and like that spiritual order is like, you know, it's like divine order. You have to heal in order to get to the next space. And so if you find yourself in a place of loneliness or in a place of doubt or disbelief, keep going, you know? So,
Yeah, that's true.
but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Just keep going. And it's like, and it's the relationship is never like, completely revealed in one go. And you're exploring every day, like, getting to know God, getting to know yourself, your true authentic self,
Mm.
um, see how God created you, what you like. And a lot of revelations are also happening, like, like in identifying who you are, and understanding the parts of you that you resonated with from your past life, but you don't anymore. And you're like, no, this is not me. Um, like perhaps, like I know that I've always like throughout my life considered myself like as like a very um how do I put it, like bold, less emotional, but as like it legit took me 3 years to be able to realize and accept that I'm sensitive, like I'm emotionally sensitive.
Yeah.
And like for the longest time, it was like a shame
Mm.
that to be able to accept that you can be sensitive, like, especially like how I was raised, like, no, you have to be bold and you are a single child. You're gonna have nobody, you're gonna have to take the world alone and all of that. So, like, this
Wow.
is how I was molded that I cannot be sensitive, and it's a shame.
Right.
But
Me too.
like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So couple of months ago, and I was like, something happened. Like my cousin did something, and it really hit me like badly. I was like, this is not a big deal. Why am I making a big issue out of it? Why am I feeling so bad? And then I realized probably because I am sensitive. It's just that I'm not accepting that I'm sensitive. Um, you see that. So, and but that awareness also comes as you open yourself up more to knowing how you were created by your own source, and coming to that acceptance that even if I'm this, even if I'm that, I am with myself. And that strengthening of relationship happens as you go deeper in your relationship with yourself and you try to, like, stop clinging on to the outer relationships. That is when you're like, you release others from being your source and see that God is the only source. And
Yeah.
even if I'm protected, that does not mean I'm weak. Sorry, even if I'm sensitive, that does not mean I'm weak. Even if I have something, that does not make me powerless, because I am a child of God, and that itself makes me powerful. So that was like the big realization for me. And like, even realizing with the ADHD, like I discovered after the last live class of Jeff and Shaleia that, yeah, I do have ADHD. So I thought I took it well. Like for a month, I thought that, yeah, I took it well. Like, yeah, fine if I have it. It's a great awareness. But only after a month, I realized that I shut down to that information because it didn't trigger me immediately, but it did not even stir up any feelings in me. So I was like, okay, let's open up. So why we shut down is because I feel that there's not having enough faith in the source for creating us how he did and accepting. So that's probably what I'm moving through, and just spending more time with God and myself to be able to understand myself better so that more acceptance comes in. And once that comes, the next step will unfold. I don't have to know everything right now to be able to be one with God, to be in my harmonious union, to be living this life.
Yeah. I love what you shared too. Yeah, and I think, I think our sensitivity, I think that it's actually like a real gift. It's a real superpower, but it makes people uncomfortable. And so like even just my presence sometimes um will make people uncomfortable. And so I can't do anything about that. Like I can't, if an angry person comes into a room and you feel like everybody feels it. And the same is true of light. And so I think our sensitivity is actually a real gift. Like I teach a lot of children, and so I'm able to really like get a sense of where they're at and like hold this beautiful space. And because I believe that everyone is good and that everybody wants to be successful and everybody wants to be loving, like they align to it. Like I don't have to I don't have to discipline them in a way that makes them feel bad for feeling. And sometimes, because we're doing a lot of movement, sometimes their feelings will come up and they'll have like a memory or some sort of, or like maybe they watch something with their family about, like a cartoon and the mom died or something like that. And they're like, start to have these emotions come out
Yeah.
like, in class, which isn't necessarily appropriate to be talking about in class, but we won't talk about it. We're just like, okay, well, just, yeah, that's something you can talk about with your parents, but do you want to feel through those feelings? Like, I get sad sometimes too, and I understand. And so, um, and then we're able to create this space of like letting people feel,
Mm.
and it's not like a scary thing anymore. And um, because I think it's ultimately the fear of our feelings, right? That like because underneath our feelings is this other belief, right? That maybe yeah, I mean, anytime I get resistant on the mirror exercise, it's always because I believe that the fearful belief is true. And
Yeah.
so and so I don't want to feel it because I think it's true. So, um, but then it's like feeling through that belief and realize, oh, that's not really true. That's not really aligned with the truth and the love of God. So I can let that go. I can bring love there. And then, like, that's the miracle. And so I feel like, too, and then, um, yeah, and then with the ADHD, it's like, I feel like people with ADHD are really just designed to like they're so sensitive that it feels very bad to be out of their life purpose. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So I know for me, I made a very core choice as a student, like in a classroom, and I'm like, if this is going to be my work life for the next 40 years, like count me out. Like I'm not going to be in a cubicle. Like not going to happen. And I ended up creating like became a professional dancer and teach and have a school and everything. And and I love coaching as well. That's something I'm really walking into as well. But like the normal thing didn't fit, you
Yeah.
know? And
I resonate with you. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like I have worked with like I have advertising and marketing background qualification even. I worked with all like, you know, um MNCs, and like I was working with Microsoft and my last job 2 years ago when I quit, and I was like, no, I can't continue this. This can't happen. I can't be doing this forever because I feel like that this thing of just wanting to just be there and do what your heart is asking is something that really fuels you up. Like that's the only thing. You can't just first of all, because I feel like there's a different way of processing and functioning that is not being understood by everybody. And that makes sense, like being a neurodivergent and then neurotypical, like there's that clash, right? So I feel it's good, like when you're working in your life purpose, you have the freedom, right, to be able to work, like even as in the life purpose classes Jeff talks about, like you are monitoring your calendar and you're giving yourself that freedom to do it. And when you're doing it from a space of feeling good, you're basically, it's just like watering a plant with good energy
yeah,
that will out. You're
yeah,
not doing it like, oh shit, I have to water it again, and then you're giving that energy and then it will die eventually. So it's like just feels more aligned with being more how you want to do things with God.
yeah. That was really that was great, Anvincha, because I think sometimes the world teaches us to kind of be independent and push through the blocks and just keep powering through. And I love what you shared about, feeling your feelings because even in a career that I love, if I'm holding on to fear, I can't move past the block. I can't do the thing. And then I can't honor my schedule because I'm holding on to fear uh, somewhere in my vibration. And so I think that sensitivity, it's such a gift because it helps us to like it literally does stop us in our tracks. And I think
Hmm,
that's sometimes like the procrastination and the kind of fight or flight kind of comes in. And then the cycle of shame comes in because we're like, well, why can't I just move past this? And then it's this like vicious cycle of like,
true.
no. And so, but like to stop that cycle, I think is about recognizing that there's a feeling and a belief underneath the procrastination or the shame. And then in order to heal that cycle, you've got to bring in more support. And for me, that's exercise. Like I realized if I don't exercise even like 10 minutes a day, like shifts my entire day. And I've been doing
Yeah.
that consistently every single day. Like even if I don't have 30 minutes, I'll just 10 minutes and
Hmm,
make myself do it. Because that's like the discipline piece. Because if I don't do that, my cognitive functioning isn't as great.
hmm,
And then my endorphins and all of that, it plays a huge piece in having this structure and support of my life. And then having a few extra supplements too to help my brain function a little bit better, help my moods. And then it's like it's almost like this, you've got the cycles going this way, and then you can just it like slows, and then you can start getting the momentum, and then you can start feeling good, and then you feel good, and then you feel good, and then you might have some, you know what I mean? And then you might have, oh, okay, I'm going deeper here. Now that I felt so good, I'm going deeper into what doesn't feel bad. But you're not like stuck. At least this is where I was, this stuck in this like downward spiral that I couldn't get out of. But accepting where I was with like my
yeah.
ADHD and accepting that sensitivity and this shame cycle I'm talking about, like that was key on being like, oh no, I can shift this. Like this is actually manageable. Um, but I think it's just, about learning how to support yourself and just accepting like, okay, these are the extra things that I need. It doesn't matter like everyone's going to support themselves in the best way that they know how at the time. So we just, but really, really honoring ourselves and how we feel, I think um, anyway, it's been primary for me to let go of like how much support I need,
Yeah.
and like not like limiting that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember, like, hearing it in TFAS, and even my coach telling me, like, don't underestimate the amount of love and presence and support you need on this journey. And that's true. And also, like, you were talking about acceptance. Like, if we come back to mirror exercise, step number three, this thing, is there any truth to that statement? So it's accepting, yes, that so
Yes.
it's helping you accept, right? Yeah. Even if there's an upset, there's a good feeling, accepting, yes, taking responsibility of it. I think that's where it is. The moment you accept, it changes. The you come from the zone by is everything bad happening to me versus like the shift happens to, oh yeah, it's happening. Now I'm powerful. I can change that.
Mhm.
Right before that, before it was when we are like just step we are in the step and, oh, I'm upset with this person for being so cruel to me, and the moment you step two and you're like, yeah, it makes sense because I'm the one doing that to myself, I take full responsibility of it, and that's true. I accept that, like that's basically also honoring all parts of you, like from the transition that has happened from you being from somebody how you were created to somebody you were not to coming back. So these were the parts that you adapted to, right?
Mhm.
Be it through any circumstances, be it through outer learnings, but it's more about, yeah, I did. And it may not be the overall part of me, but the current reality is, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
accepting myself, like I may not like something about me. So instead of just, no, I can't be this person, I accept that, yeah, this is there and I don't like it. And just loving this part of you, to be able to, coming into awareness of who you really are. And that is how the relationship can really go deep, by not by just rejecting that I can't be this, I have not done this, I can't be this, to just changing the switch to coming, yeah, okay, now what? How can I love myself here? So
Yeah.
that really like changes. And yeah, like I know, like that block with receiving support, like the block of receiving, especially, like, how guilty it used to, like, make me feel like, no, I can't receive. The other person, like, they are owing me by supporting me this much. They are like, oh, I owe them, like
Mm.
it's like a
Yeah.
debt, right? That I owe them, that, oh, they're so kind, they're so wonderful, they're so this. But then the support is also coming from God through them, and honoring that, like, and it's just the receiving blocks clears up. That eventually helps you supporting in your union, in your finances, in your purpose, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was so powerful. I love that. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just a work in progress. What I was wanted to kind of piggyback on what you said about step three. I think the biggest thing that I noticed people struggle with, and I struggled with this too, um, is feeling. It's like feeling the upset is like, or feeling where that could be true within. Because I feel like oftentimes we like go into our mind and we're like, oh, well, I am loving myself. Like, what do you mean I'm not loving like I am loving myself. Um, but I think people don't quite understand like the depth
Yeah,
of our like soul, right? And it makes sense though, right? If we're not believing that we're divine and that we're part of the greater of all that is, like the drop in the ocean, like part of all of that, then it's going to be really difficult to feel and to go into those deep places within us. Um, but I think it's about just having compassion and just like humbling, like being humble and allowing yourself to say, okay, well, this doesn't feel good that I might be doing this, but I'm open to exploring it. Just being open and like releasing that like ego shell that says, that's really just afraid to feel. Like,
yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing for me is like learning to be safe in feeling, and recognizing it's just a feeling. And then I
yeah,
can go deeper and loving myself through allowing myself to just like it's going to be okay. And whatever feeling comes up, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's real. It just means that like I'm not feeling loved or worthy in this place. I'm
yeah,
not feeling like I can accept more love, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. That was a really like helpful share, and like really powerful, especially like with those who are struggling with feeling their feelings fully. I think that last piece can really hit the push button. So thank you for sharing that, Kelly.
yeah, and it's a process. I mean, I was very, very numb when I got into this journey and I was following a lot of professional development stuff and I really thought that I was like,
Yeah.
like enlightened already, I really thought that I knew a lot. And so it was very humbling for me to have to like not have
Mhm.
to, I chose, right? Like it begins with a choice to feel. Um, and yeah, it's just a choice. Um, and then it's like any other kind of muscle, right? You're building your spiritual muscles, your intuition,
Hmm.
and your feelings get stronger in terms of that intuition, in terms of like catching those signs from God and having God like really like I remember Jess saying that like love is shy, that God is shy. And so and like I'm feeling that now more than ever, just like I don't know, in the last year or so, just really recognizing like the ways that God will speak to me, through others. It's just, it's beautiful to kind of like vibrate into and build that trust with myself and trust with God. And then, and so, but the way forward is just like, just keep going, keep exploring, like full circle, coming back to what you shared about exploring that. And, yeah, so.
Yeah, I feel complete.
Yeah, great. So everyone, thank you for watching. We're so grateful you're here, and we just wish you all the best and healing into the most beautiful life with your twin flame and just creating a wonderful life. And if if this message resonated with you, so we can share this message with the world, you can head over to unionism.org and share a tithing, share a gift that will just expand love into the world. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anvinsha. Great to see you.
Yeah.